So we'll go to scene 2 here that does not have any snow on it, and we'll create some snow. So the first step, of course, is to create a new layer and name it snow. And you can zoom out of the stage to help you generate this snow. We're going to be using a tool called the Spray Brush tool. It's located under the Brush tool on your toolbar. And when you have chosen the Spray Brush tool, click your Properties tab and you can make a couple edits to the way this airbrush works. So currently if I spray paint in the air, it gives me some nice flakes of snow, but they are black. So that's one thing we need to change, is to click this box and change the snow to white. And then I'm going to change the width of my brush to around 150 and the height as well, just to make my snowflakes a little more spread out. So I will go ahead and draw in some snow here. And you want to start it so you can see it in the sky, but it needs to extend up a good ways above your stage so we have time for it to fall during our animation. Once you've got the snow drawn in on the first keyframe on your snow layer, make a new keyframe using F6 at the very end, and click and drag that area of snow that you have all the way down so that it not quite but almost makes it so where it goes off of the stage completely. And once you've dragged that area of snow down, you can right click and create a classic tween. And of course that will have created the snow that we need for our animation. Now the easiest way to copy this snow onto your other layers so that all your layers have snow on them is to simply highlight the area of frames that contains the snow, right click and copy frames. Then if we go to scene 3 that does not contain any snow, if we just make a new layer and right click on the first keyframe and paste those frames, it will bring all of your snow over, as well as it will rename your layer snow. So it will do all the work for you in creating that snow in the second scene as well. So the snow is one add-on of this project that will help make it look very professional. The next add-on, and we can see this in scene 2, is to make splashes of snow when the snowboarder figure lands from either doing a jump or when it changes direction or leaves the mountain area for any reason. So if we view this animation here, if you notice when the guy lands, and we'll watch it again, a little spray of snow pops up. And it's kind of minor, but it's just a nice detailed addition to make everything look professional. So we'll go ahead and add that to scene 3, the scene that has my snowboarder grinding a grind bar. I will make a new layer and call it Splash. And I'll scrub through until I find a nice location where my snowboarder is either leaving the mountain, or is landing back on the mountain. So I'll start here where my snowboarder is leaving the mountain and make a new keyframe using F6. I'm going to use that same spray brush tool that we used for the snow, except this time we're going to change the width back down to around 40 or so, just to make it more concentrated to make snow splashes. So on my first keyframe, when my snowboard is leaving, I'm just going to spray paint some thick snow. Make a new keyframe in the very next frame. Spray in a little more snow to make it spray up. And again, the next frame, make a new keyframe and add in a little more of our splash. Finally, make a new keyframe and hit delete. That will make it so my splash appears, but then it goes away after my figure has left the area. So I'll do the same process when my figure is landing. Make a new keyframe. Draw in some snow spray. Make a new one later down the line. Draw in some more. And finally draw in some more. And again, make that last keyframe and hit delete so that snow splash goes away as your border leaves the area. So what this project may look like after you've added those two add-ons. If we look at scene 1, my border starts at the start line, goes down the hill. Scene 2, he goes and does a flip off of a jump. Scene 3, he grinds the grind bar, and you notice those splashes on this scene. And finally, scene 4, he glides to the finish line and stops at the bottom. And again, you can see the splash of snow that I've created at the end, just to help it look more detailed and better. The last add-on that we can add to this project is audio, and this will help everything sound really good and make a nice professional animation. Luckily, Flash has incorporated audio into the program, so we don't have to download any files from the internet or anything like that. If we go to scene 1, I'm going to start putting audio here. If you go to Window at the top, down to Common Libraries, and choose Sounds, it's again going to give us another window that we can work with. And it contains probably a couple hundred or even just 100 sounds that are already loaded into Flash, and they're just sound effects and different sounds that we can add to our animation to make everything sound better. And we'll go over the process of adding these to our animation. So the first step is just to find sounds that would sound good. So I found in the library there's one that is titled Household Deodorant Spray Fizz. And if we use this window up here to play that sound, it basically just sounds like ambient noise, snow falling, or a snowboarder going through the snow. So that one might be a good one to use. So I'm going to click and drag it to my library, and it imports it to your library area to be used later. Another good one that you may need, I've got, of course, my snowboarder doing a flip, so that might impress a crowd, so I can find one called Human Crowd. And it sounds like the crowd being very impressed. I'll go ahead and import that to my library by dragging it over. And finally, at the end, when my snowboarder goes through the finish line, we may want to hear the crowd say, "Hooray." So I'm going to go ahead and import that one as well. Now you can leave this window open once you've got your sounds in there in case you need some more, or you can use the X at the top and just close it out, because once we have those in our library, we can use those from this point forward. So in order to incorporate these audio files into our animation, we first need a new layer and name that layer audio. And of course it'll be empty. And the sounds are very easy. So I click the first keyframe on your audio layer and simply drag the sound file out onto your stage and release anywhere. And now it may look like nothing happened on our stage, nothing new is there, but if you look on the audio layer, we now see that purple waveform of the audio file in our layer. So when we play our animation, we hear that sound. This household deodorant spray file lasts about 2 scenes long. So if we put it in scene 1, it will last through scene 2 as well. And even though it doesn't appear in our layers, it is still there. And it will, when we play the animation from start to finish, it will continue into the next scene as well. However, it will not continue after that sound ends. So I'm going to go ahead and add it to scene 3 by making a new layer and dragging that sound to our stage and creating it again. So I placed it at scene 1 and it's long enough so it will last through scene 2. I placed it at scene 3 and it is long enough so it will last through scene 4. Some special sound effects that may be necessary is of course that ooh sound when my figurine does a flip. So I'm going to make a new layer for that, call it sound or audio, whatever you want to call it. And this time I'm going to click through my animation until my figure is about to make the jump off of the jump, and I'm going to add a new keyframe at that location. When I make a new keyframe, now I'm going to click and drag this ooh sound to my stage, and you'll see it started that sound exactly where I put my new keyframe. So I didn't want my crowd to say ooh until my rider or figure jumped off the jump. So now if we listen to it, the audio should be synced up to when my rider leaves and does his flip. And you can hear the crowd ooh and ah at that as well. So to demonstrate that again, I'll show you with the hooray function or hooray sound at the end. Make a new layer, call it sound. And I don't want my crowd to say hooray until he has made it through the finish line. So I'm going to make a new keyframe after my rider has made it through the finish line and click and drag the hooray sound out onto our timeline. And again, it'll sync it up until my rider is at the end. So we have audio. So if I view my final animation, of course, today we have learned how to create movement using that frame-by-frame technique, moving our rider slightly in position at each keyframe that we've created along our timeline. We've learned how to create snow into our scene, as well as those splashes that show where the rider lands on our mountain. We have learned how to utilize that onion skin feature to show where our figure is at in the animation, just to help us create nice smooth movement and we don't have any choppiness or jumping around on us when we look at our finalized animation. And we have also learned how to add audio and sound effects to our animation to make it sound nice and add that nice special touch to it. And you can utilize this sound library for many, many other different animations. There is so many different sounds in here that you could add it to different animations across the board to add that special touch to it at the end. So definitely take advantage of that. So if we look at my finalized animation, you'll notice the 4 different scenes, the audio and the snow. this would be a finalized